Hi, this workshop is all about choosing your business name. Now, I find this one of the I get more excited about doing this seminar than anything because this is something you're going to have to live with, love, and brand for as long as you have your company. According to regulations where I live in Vancouver, a business name has to have three components to it. It has to be a descriptive, it has to be unique, and it has to be a defining aspect of the company. For instance, Blistex Pharmaceuticals Inc. would have something unique, which is Blistex. Pharmaceuticals would be the descriptive, and Inc. would be the corporate designation. Now there's about 13 things here, so you can follow along with the action plan, but your name has to be clearly recognizable to your customers. A lot of times my name sounds really familiar to people and they say, "Oh, I've heard of you before." It's just the name, Bizzo. One of the other things is, does your name exhibit the right image? For instance, one of my clients is an Asian engineer, petrochemical engineering, and she was going to corporations in Alberta where the oil fields are and giving her a business card, and it was Golden Consulting Limited. Now, to me that doesn't sound Anglo-Saxon, if you will, because that's typically the type of clients that she's going after, big oil companies in Alberta. So it was coming across as being not as professional as she wants. So we came up with the name Stonebridge Petrochemical Consultants. The Stonebridge has this image of having been around forever. You can see the stone bridge in your mind. So it comes across as very strong and powerful. Does your name exhibit the size of your company correctly? Now, a lot of people can make their companies look as big or as small as they want on the internet because that's just the way it is. But you don't want to come across as too big for your customers to think that maybe you're too big to work with them. And again, on the reverse, you don't want to come across as being too small that you can't handle the business. What about, does your company name have legs for expansion? What does that mean? Well, legs for expansion, for instance, Omni Clothing Corporation sounds a little more general than Omni Kidswear. So let's say you start off as a kidswear manufacturer or a retailer and decide to expand. So your name has to take that into consideration. With social media, can you get the name of your company on a website? Do you have a name perhaps that can refer to it? For instance, Canadian Immigration might be a great name for a website if it's referring to a company that does immigration work. Does the name matter? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you might have a holding company that can manage risk for your company. And in that case, a corporation could be a number, 8976321 BC Limited. It's just however you want to brand it. Are there any copyright problems with your name of your company? Now, I had a client who, I won't mention his name, but his company was very similar to Dell Computers. He went for the same colors, and Dell was in his name. It also happened to be his last name, which made a lot of sense. But within about 6 months, he was embroiled in a very costly lawsuit because he thought it would be okay to use his name even though it was in Canada versus America. So what do? Numerology. Now, I would take into account anything that would make my business work better. So years ago I listened to a numerologist who said if I added or changed my name, if I added an ampersand instead of an and, that I'd have better luck with my business. Well, you know, you can ponder that, but why not? In picking your name, how about some really easy things to think about? How about considering cultural differences? How about phonetics? Cultural differences, that's a good one. Let's start with that. Ford identified a car name that they wanted to introduce into South America. It was a muscle car. Now the name, and it was translated into Spanish, sort of related to a cultural piece of, it related to a penis. And of course that didn't go over very well. Spelling of your name. If you want to have a name that's unique, make sure that people can spell it when they listen to you on the phone. Now there's another one on the phone. What does it sound like? Can you pronounce it well enough that people can understand it? I'll give you a good example of a dear friend of mine who's from Mumbai in India. And his company is Double Express Go. Now the good part about it is it's a unique name, people remember it, but he spelt it differently. Double is D-U-B-B-L-E, Express has got 2 X's, and Go, what does it mean? A lot of people thought it was a coffee shop. Well, the truth of the matter is, it's a vending machine company. So we identified that perhaps if he really wanted that name, he would have to have a website that would take people to the company. And what did we come up with? VancouverVendingMachines.com. It's very long, but it's very easy to say, and it goes right to his website. This brings up another problem. Remember the phone issue I mentioned? Well, my friend is from Mumbai, as I said. He's got a very thick accent. So his accent is detrimental to the name when he's trying to express it on the internet or on the phone. What's the solution to that? He does all of his work by email. And he rarely calls people on the phone. It's all done in person or by email. Now, when I mentioned the name of Stonebridge earlier about the Asian woman who was a petrochemical engineer, she had chosen the name Golden Consulting because golden means something to her. So your name should be meaningful. In her case, though, we needed to have something that was a little less meaningful and a little more insightful as to what she's doing. Some people ask me, is it okay to use your real name? Well, Bizzo Management Group is my own name. If you're considering like an accounting firm or something like that, then use your own name. If you're a professional, Smith Engineering, it's your name. A lot of times you don't want to use your name. That's fine. Sometimes it indicates that you're smaller than you are. Joe's Garage, for instance. Everybody wants to work with Joe. He's got 10 mechanics, but they all want Joe to work on his car. That's the problem. Now, here's a good one. The customer perception. You must do your research when you're picking a name. If you found a name that sounds just so cool for you, then check it out on the internet. See what it really means. I think it was Adidas that came up with a new runner called Zyklon. Z-K-Y-L-O-N. It was a great name. They branded it all over their shoes. And they were out in business maybe 2 or 3 months, and the next thing you know, they were dumping plane loads of it over Africa, dumping it out the cargo doors, trying to get rid of these things. They weren't selling. They hadn't done the research because Zyklon B was the gas they used in Auschwitz during World War II to kill the Jews. Well, you can imagine the uproar. At the same time, in Germany, H.A. Simons had developed a new oven called Zyklon 2. So when they heard about Adidas, they quickly closed the whole company. It just wasn't going to make any sense. So I hope I've given you a little bit of perspective as to how to pick a name and have fun with it. And just remember that you have to live with it, and hopefully it's going to be around a long time.